In August, I made a yearly budget. It was a very long video, and I was thinking as I was writing and I was doing the accounts with examples, and the math wasn't very good, so I decided to make a yearly budget. I had already written it in the schedule, and it's going to be in Excel. As I was trying to do it, I decided to write first the principles. And I realized that this is important because just looking at an Excel page and trying to understand things at the same time as you do the accounts, uh, two different things. One is words and the other one is numbers, and it's complicated to understand. So I decided to divide it. I'm going to make more than a video. I'm not sure if it's going to be able to be done in two, but even if it's 3 videos, it's okay. And the first one is the principles. Well, at least the ones I use. And what are those principles? One are for the expected things. Well, it is divided in two parts, one for the expected things and another one for the unexpected things, because we don't know what's going to happen. So we just have to have a plan in case that happens, we don't get overwhelmed and be able to deal with it. So that's what I'm going to start with. So the unexpected things are extra income. Let's hope that's something that's going to happen. Another, I'm just trying to put here in the set because it's so pretty. Or it's extra expenses. Unfortunately, it happens as well. Another one is changes in the way expenses are paid. For instance, extra income is obviously you either get a raise or you get another job, or you have managed to do something that will provide you an extra income, whether it is a recurrent one or just something that happens once or once in a while. As for extra expenses, again, things unfortunately may become more expensive, or you might have different services or newer services that will implicate products that will implicate expenses. So that is relatively understood, self-explained. As for the changes in the way expenses are paid, for instance, you might be paying them by check, you might be paying them by bank transfer, and you might be paying them by cash, going to the store and pay them by cash, or debit card, but you have to go to the store, and that can be changed. You might decide, oh no, I'm going to pay all by bank, I'm going to pay all by cash, I'm going to pay, it doesn't matter. And it might be all the expenses or just some. But why is it important to have here the changes in the way expenses are paid if you're still going to pay the same? If you pay an expense by check or bank transfer, you have to have that money in the account by the time that bill hits the bank. If you pay it by cash, you get to decide when you're going to pay it, but you're also responsible to pay it, meaning if you forget to pay it, you might incur an extra expenses by not paying it in the right date. If you pay it on the right time, it means then that the, the bill will be paid, obviously, but it also means that you have to manage the cash you have with you to make sure you will be able to honor this payment. So there are differences in the way you have to manage, the way we have to manage money accordingly to the way we pay our bills. The other difference is usually, especially by bank transfer, bills are charged in a certain date. You don't define when that date is. The company that charges the bill does. Maybe it's a date that's not convenient for you. Maybe it is. If it's not convenient for you and you decide to change, then you will have to know, well, now this bill will not be automatically paid. I have to remember to, on this certain day, go and pay it, and in this or that way. The opposite is also true. If usually go to the store and pay for that bill, but for some reason you now no longer can do it, or it's more convenient for you to pay it by check or bank transfer. Now you have to make sure that you know when that is going to happen. So in that date, the bank account will be provided and that bill will be paid, and you will not be surprised 2 or 3 months from that with um, charges for not paying on time or having the service suspended. The other unexpected things is changes in the way income is received. If it's in the same job you have, it might be that you have it by bank transfer, it might change to check, or it might change to them giving you cash directly. And the same goes if you find yourself another job or a way to have income, a new way to have income. It might be paid in a different way than the one you receive by now. It might even be paid in the same way. Let's imagine you receive it by a bank transfer, but you decide for the new job or for the new hustle or whatever it is that gives you an income, that you're not going to receive it in the same account, in the same bank account, but in a different bank account. So you can separate the money for whatever reason you might want. So those changes you have to have an account, you have to consider. And the last change is changes in goals or ways to spend the money. So let's say you want to buy yourself a car in 3 years, a new car in 3 years, and you know the car is roughly a certain amount. Let's say, I have no idea how much a car costs, so I'm going to put an even number just to help me with the bills. Well, and that even number is just to help me divide the bills. Let's say it's 6,000 euros. So you're going to buy it in 3 years, so you know that you'll have 3 years to save that money. So dividing by 3, it's 2. You'll have to save 2,000 euros every year. But let's say for some reason, either your car is too beaten down, or you don't think you can wait, or you really need the car earlier and you have to get it in 1.5 year, for instance, so it's half the time, then you'll have to save twice as much by per year. Sorry. That means that you'll have to have that in account, or you'll have to have a plan if that happens. Another way is, for instance, you usually go to a certain place early in the morning or half day in the middle of the day, and you have a coffee and a bagel, for instance. But somehow you change jobs, or you need to go somewhere else, and you don't go to that place anymore, and there's no other place that you can go and have that coffee and the bagel, so you stop spending that money. If you have a plan for it, for that money not being spent, it will be well used. If you don't, it will stay in your wallet, and then you will eventually spend it, because unfortunately, well, at least that's what happens to me. When there's money, we spend it. So that's why it's so important to have a plan to spend it, and that's what this unexpected things come in handy for. You already know what you have to pay, you already know how much it is, and you already know how much you get. So everything is more or less in order. But sometimes things change. Expenses increases, or income increases, and well, the first one is not very good, but the second one is an opportunity, and that opportunity is often lost because there's no plan, and we think, oh, I'm going to do this, no, I'm going to do that, but there's no actual plan. So that's something that should be thought of beforehand. So what would you do if you started earning an extra 100 or an extra 200 or whatever the amount is? So that if it happens, you just come to yearly plan and you know, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. You don't have to think about it at the time because you will be thrilled with the money. And usually there it goes. Money is to be spent. The same goes with the changes in goals and ways to spend the money. Okay, you have to save more. What can you do? And you will be spending less. What will you do with that money? That this doesn't happen in the same. Doesn't mean it will happen at the same time. What will you do if you have to save more? And uh, if that is not the case, or even if that is not the case, what will you do if you have the extra money? If you have to save more and you have the extra money, obviously you'll get that extra money and put it in the savings for whatever it is you want. In the example, the car. If you don't have to save more, but you stop spending, you should have a plan for it as well. What will it be? What will you do with that money? How will you save it or spend it in a way that it will either help you reduce the expenses or increase the income? The expected things. Um, the expected things are quite a few. If I'm going to explain them like this is going to be a 30 minutes video. So I'm just going to give you an overall, and I'm now sure that this is going to be a three-part video. And the next one I will explain them detailed. So the expected things are not exactly expected. This is in the sort of what are you supposed to do? This is more or less what are you supposed to do with to find out the yearly budget. You know, you have a certain amount of expenses. I've written down how much every bill costs and costs every month, and make a list. Now I wrote down bills, but you don't have just bills. Like supermarket isn't a bill, but you have to go to the supermarket and buy food and cleaning supplies and hygiene supplies. So it's not a bill, but it's an expense. So you will also include the expenses you have that you don't get in your house as a bill. I, I, I don't know about you, but I would be very pleased to have just the bills, just the utility bills. No more than that. But there is more expenses than that. And that's what you should do. A list with all the expenses. Then multiply that amount by 12 to find out how much it will cost you in a year. And by that amount, um, each amount. This is what I did in the other one. I'm not sure if it will help at all. In the previous video about the yearly budget, I had made a little demo, but it's not very understanding. So the stuff are the bills that the income that the expenses you'll be having. The month is the amount is how much you pay by month. The year is the amount you spend by year. And to get the amount you spend by year, you multiply by 12. Then you multiply that amount by 10 to find out how much it costs in 10 years, and then you evaluate. Finally, to find out whether you should make differences to that amount or not. Finally, you find out how much the difference between what are you going to pay in the next 10 years if you make no changes, and how much you're going to pay in the next 10 years if you make changes is, and and that will give you the money you should economize in 10 years. You divide that by 10 to find out the yearly amount, and then divide that by 12 to find out the monthly amount. Yeah, I'm going to talk about this in the following video. I'm going to explain it a little bit better. And finally, in the last video, I'm going to include the Excel, or maybe I'll make a merge between this one and the Excel video. I hope this has helped, and I wish you'll have a better budget next year than you have this year, because that's what we all want to improve in whatever area it is.